All right. Good noon, everybody. Happy Tuesday, 2/2 Tuesday. I don't know if y'all have seen that joke floating around about it being the 22nd of the second month of the 22nd year. So 2/2 Tuesday. So welcome to Life Hacking 101. This Tuesday, we are going to have the fabulous Martha Cooper, career services specialist over here at Spring Branch, all about how to write a winning resume. So before we hear from her, I'd just like to remind everybody these sessions are recorded, and I'll remind you about where you can get that link at the end. And that Life Hacking 101 is a collaborative effort of student services, career services, and the HCC libraries. And so y'all are getting the awesome benefit of these three departments together. And today we get to hear specifically from career services. So super cool. All right, so as we go through, if you have questions, Martha will be checking in with everybody. So be sure to ask her as they come up, because this is a super important topic for your future success. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to hand the baton over to Martha. It's all yours.
Thank you, Sean. And again, my name is Martha Cooper. I'm a career service specialist here at Spring Branch. And I have with me today Mr. Abdul Hajali, and he's also a career service specialist. Today, we're going to talk about resume building and job application. Everyone needs and wants that perfect resume, and I'm going to give you some summaries, tips, and show you how you can build that resume. So we'll get started. So what is a resume? I like to think of a resume as a part of a group of activities that you need to complete before you obtain that job. There is your written application, which is the resume, your verbal application, which is your mock interview, and then your visual application, which is how you will present yourself. And so your resume is a written application of you, a written summary of your skills. It's your first impression with a potential employer. How long should a resume be? We'd like to say 1 page, but we know some of us have different experiences than others, some more than others. So 1 to 2 pages, no more than 2 pages if you can. Your resume should capture the reader's experience. It should have, your resume should have a page full of interesting things that you have done and that you are qualified, that makes the recruiter or hiring manager want to call you in for an interview. Usually resumes, you only have 2 to 5 minutes of scanning by the reader. So your resume you want your resume to be concise and to the point. And like I said before, it must grab the prospective employer's attention. So before we go through the resume, I just want to give some tips on the resume and some secrets. The first tip is to target your resume. If you're an engineer, engineering student, your resume should be geared toward that particular field. If you're an accounting student, your resume should be geared toward that particular, your accounting field. You want to, generic resumes, they fall flat, they're not interested. When the hiring manager or the recruiter looks at a resume, he wants that resume to be focused and geared towards the job that you're applying for. The resume should be relevant and concise. We should stick to the last 10 years on the resume. We don't want to know what you did 20, 25 years ago, if possible. If you're a student, we don't want you've had 5 or 6 jobs for each month. Each month you change jobs. Don't overshare. Have your resume really focused and relevant to what job you are applying for. Focus on results, and we'll get to that during the job description. But when writing resumes, you want to focus on your highlights, the things you've done, the things you've done to improve the company. And it's always good to use percentages, numbers, dollar amounts, if you can. You want to create your personal brand. Now, creating personal brand and telling the story it's entwined. It's one of the same. If I decided in high school I wanted to be an accountant, and that's what I'm going to major in school. So my subjects will be, of course, my courses will be in accounting field, and I want my job experiences to be accounting related too. Maybe you can get a job as a clerk in the accounting department. Maybe you can work for a CPA firm. You want to brand yourself. You want to join organizations that are accounting related. And that's all in your brand, and that should be all highlighted on your resume. So your resume you want to tell that complete story. You also want to cut the fluff. Avoid general statements, team player. Nothing, focus on certain action statements. I directed a certain event. I accelerated at providing my certain things. I accelerated at providing certain information to my boss. I envisioned how the department needed to be ran, and I demonstrated that through action verbs. Start strong. The top of the resume is the most valuable part of the resume. The top of the resume tells a recruiter or a hiring manager who you are, what your skills are, and what are your interests, and we'll get to that. So those are the 7 resume secrets. So let's get started on the resume. How do I write this wonderful resume, this great resume? And basically here at HCC, we follow the same typical format, and with some revisions, or you can add certain things to it. But when starting, it's good to follow this particular format. You'll have your contact information at the top, and then you move on to the summary. And then you want your education skills, your professional experience or work history. And then lastly, your awards and activities. So the contact information, which should be at the top, the center of the page. You want to have your name, and you can have no address, please. You don't have to have your address on your resume, especially if you list it with Indeed. You may not know who's looking at your resume, so only use your city and zip code, and that is optional. I know sometimes students will say, well, I want them to know where I live and, to take the job. Well, when you apply for a job, the recruiter or the hiring manager already assumes that you would be able to come to this job. You have proper transportation, and you can come to this particular job. So this part of the resume, to me, your city and zip code is optional, but you can use it. You want your telephone number there because we want to call you or email you, and then any professional affiliations that you may have that you want to list at the top. Once that's completed, then we're going on to the summary. And I can tell you the summary, skills, and work experience are one of the main things on the resume that you really need to focus on and make sure you have that information that's needed for that particular job. On the summary is a statement of your goals for employment, usually listed at the top of the resume. A summary is typically 3 to 4 sentences long, and you could create it, and you want to create a summary that piques the reader's interest. So my thing with the summary, it should be 3 things. It should tell who you are, what your skills are, and what you want to accomplish, or what job that you are pursuing. So let's look at a couple. I have 2 examples here, and I'll read them really quickly for you. Highly motivated electrical engineering student with experience in providing detailed analysis and insightful support for development of engineering projects, motivated to design the best infrastructures in the industry. So, who am I? A highly motivated electrical engineer. What are my skills? Experienced in providing detailed analysis and insightful support for development of engineering products. What do I want to do? I'm motivated to design the best infrastructures in the industry. So that's typically all you want to say for your summary. So that gives me a little insight of what you want, and hopefully it's related to the job that I'm hiring for. So let's say you're a student though, and you really don't have that much work experience. So as far as student, you want to tell me who you are. I'm a self-motivated student positioned to contribute strongly, and you can fill in whatever you need. Maybe you're to the customer service team and possesses an exemplary work ethic. You're able to collaborate with others, build relationships, strong interpersonal skills with dynamic personality and a willingness to learn. So with that one, you're just telling me who you are and what you're capable of. So I'm going to stop here because I know I've been talking now for a few minutes. And do you have any questions on what I went over, the name, summary, any tips that I went over? Do you have any questions? Okay, so we're going to just move along here. After the summary, you want to list your education, because what hiring managers look for, if that job requires an associate degree, a bachelor's degree, a high school degree, we want to know right off at the beginning, because if that job requires a bachelor's degree and you don't have a bachelor's degree, then it's hard for us to go any further. So you want your education there. You want to tell what school you're attending, your anticipated graduation date and year, and you want to then tell us what are you majoring in and what are you studying, and GPA. For students with little work experience, I would list my GPA. If your GPA is under 2.5, I might leave it off, but anything above a 2.5, I would list. And this is optional. GPA is optional. If you have work history, if the job description requires 5 years of work history in that particular field, and you have that, I wouldn't worry about a GPA. But again, the education should go right beneath the summary. Skills. Skills are very important too. The hiring manager is looking for the right person with the right skills. So you want to customize your skills section of your resume to match the job as much as you can. The closer your skills match the job requirements, the better your chances are of being selected for an interview. Many employers utilize automatic tracking system, ATS, to scan candidate resumes for specific words. The more keywords you use on your resume, the more likely you are to be a fit for an interview. So if you have the education that we're looking for, the skills that the employer is looking for, then you're more likely to get called in for that interview for the job. So let's look at some skills. So we have different types of skills here. We have soft skills and hard skills. What are your soft skills? I'm great at organizing. I'm a good public speaker. I have leadership skills, networking ability, the teamwork, creative writing, time management, and critical thinking. All of these are soft skills, and you do want to incorporate soft skills in your skills. I like to always say I have good leadership skills. If your job requires you to speak, you want to say you have good public speaking skills. And then later on in your resume, you're gonna talk about what you've done to have these great public speaking skills. Hard skills, again, I'll use the accountant. If you're an accountant, I'm going to want to see industry standard Excel and Word on your resume. And any proprietorship programs that are systems that is used, please put that also on your resume. Social media skills, maybe you can you have graphic design skills, data mining, drafting. Those are all tangible and hard skills that you want to list on your resume. The next section is work history. This section details your previous jobs and explains what you've achieved in each position. Focus on actions and results. A compelling work history will clearly demonstrate why you're a good fit for the job that you're applying for. So let's look at an example. This example is for an accounting clerk. So you're going to start off with the name of your company, and you're just going to put the city that the company is, where the city of the company, and then you're going to say the date. When did you work from July till May? You're going to put the month and the year. And then under that, because you always read a resume from left to right, then you're going to list your position, accounting clerk. And then you're going to have, I'll say, at least 3 to 5 sentences under that of what you've done in your job. So this accounting clerk served as a primary point of contact for vendors' inquiries, promptly investigating issues and solving concerns. Received, tracked, and accurately processed 50+ vendor invoice payments on a weekly basis, reconciled and batch payments on a daily basis. So you want to explain to me what you've done. You want to be precise, and you want to use figures. How many invoices did you process? 50+. If you're an accounts payable clerk, it may be a position that requires you to process 50+ invoices weekly or daily, however the job description mentions. And so that's very important that you have that in your job description. Are there any questions about job descriptions? No questions about job descriptions? Okay, we got a bunch of students here that knows. Okay, awards and titles. This section of the resume, it's usually toward the bottom because We've gotten all the important things out of the way. And now I want to see, what else do you do besides work? Are you in any organizations? Have you won any awards? Do you have any special skills besides something that's pertaining to your job? So the awards and activity, this section of the resume highlights relevant activities you have been involved with and honors that you've received that you could discuss with your potential employer. Include the title, the award, the level of recognition, whether it's national, international, state, and if you can, be industry specific, and date of the recognition. So here's what that would look like. Your awards, you can list your awards and the dates. If you are a member of a particular, like the National Honor Society, you can use that and make sure you put in the dates. If you can speak several languages, make sure you list those languages. Any volunteer experience, you make sure you want to list those experiences, and if you can date them. Are there any questions? Okay. So I know I went through that pretty quickly, but here's what the frame of the here's what a resume should look like. At the top, you'll have your name and your information, your contact information, then a brief summary of who you are, your education, your skills, and if you're a student, you can also list your project experience. If you don't have work experience, if you have project experience, you can list those. Then you can list your professional work experience, and then your awards and activities. Save your references for your job application, and Abdul will talk about that shortly. Are there any questions about the resume? So Abdul will talk briefly about job applications. So I know when you've done your resume and you think that's it, but even if you get called for a job and you get an interview and even you get the job, most employers still require applicants to complete a job application, and you want that job application to be just as good as your resume. And Abdul is going to tell you how to do that. Abdul?
Hi, everyone. Can y'all hear me? My name is Abdul Haj Ali, and I'm a career service specialist. Just to give y'all like a quick background, I started here last semester, and I was a student at Houston Community College a couple years ago. And I also work for HR in a Tex-Mex restaurant. So basically, I do have both sides, the experience in both sides, from like a student perspective who's applying for a job and from an employer. So I can definitely see from both sides, and that's why I'm very excited about this presentation. So now that Ms. Marthaleen talked about how to have a good resume, and now that you have a good resume that you are very confident about, it's time for you to start applying for jobs and put that resume to work. So basically, we are going to talk about how to effectively complete a job application. And like we live in a world that there's a lot of competition, and employers, and I've done it actually in the past, where we look through applications very quickly to separate and see what is going to go in the yes pile and what's going to be in the no pile. And your application is basically what's going to it's going to be the reflection of you, and that's what's going to determine if we're actually going to call for an interview or no. So in order to increase your chances to land a job opportunity, there's something that I like to call the 3 C's, which is being careful, correct, and complete. And moving forward to the next slide, I'm going to go into more details about what is those 3 C's mean. So first, I'm going to start by telling y'all we need to be prepared when we're applying for a job. And being prepared You know, when you're applying for a job, it can be online or it can be in person. So the example that I wanted to use is when you are in person, always make sure to take a blue pen or a black pen, nothing too crazy, nothing too colorful, and avoid pencils, because there's so many times where I've actually looked at applications and I can barely read anything because they were not prepared and they just used the pencil or whatever they found while filling out that application. However, now when you are applying online, always make sure that you're not using your smartphone or your tablet or your iPad. Always make sure that you have good internet connectivity, because you don't want to, like, you know, lose your application halfway while you're filling the, you know, going through the process. So always make sure you have good connectivity. You are sitting somewhere where you can, you know, spend some good time going through the resume. You're not rushing. And always make sure that you're using a laptop, not a tablet, because there is some application that requires you to record videos, or maybe, you know, take an assessment, and sometimes your phone might not be compatible. So being prepared is a key. Also read instructions. I know most of y'all think, you know, it's just a job application, you know, I just have to fill out the blanks and that's it. But to be honest, you will be surprised that, you know, reading instructions is very important, because in some applications, like just one example they can think of, they might want you to list your work history from oldest, or for the from oldest to the most, you know, current one. Or in some other applications, they might want you to have the most current job listed. So that's why it's very important to read instructions. Also stay focused. Make sure you eliminate any distractions, and print neat and legible if you are filling it in person. To be honest, if I'm looking at a resume and it's all over the place and I can barely read the handwriting, even if that person has a good experience, I'm just not going to be interested, because it's so hard for me to read it. So yeah, I'm not really going to like spend time on it. But when it comes to staying focused while you are online, a lot of us, you know, we just use our computers or our phones, which is like, you know, like I said, avoid using phones. We might be logged into like emails or to social media or to anything, and we keep getting, you know, notifications keep pushing. And, you know, you don't want to be always keep getting distracted, getting messages or getting emails. So always, you know, for this 15 or 10 minutes that you want to invest in, you know, applying, always, you know, try to eliminate everything and just stay focused on what you're doing. Also make it relevant. So, you know, and that's why, you know, you might ask yourself, why do I need to have a job application when I can just submit my resume as my application? It has already all my information. Why do I need a job application? So this is why it's important, because your resume is just very generic. It's who you are, but it doesn't necessarily show or focus on how can you be a good fit for this position. So that's why in the job application, your job or what you're doing is to show them why you are a good fit for this position. So you need to, you know, list not all your experiences that you have, but the experiences or the classwork or the volunteering or the skills that you have, and they are relevant to this, to the job or to the position that you are applying to. Also, another thing that I've actually noticed a lot, and I know it's funny saying being honest at all times, and I'm not saying necessarily that people lie on their resume, but a lot of people tend to exaggerate or tend to mention things that, you know, they don't have a lot of focus on, and, you know, just focus so much on it to a point where you are not really giving a good idea about what kind of background experience you have. So that's why it is very important, is when you are talking about your job experience or like how long you stayed in a job, to be honest, because later on during the interview or whenever you get hired, always lies and embellishments are always going to be, you know, discovered. And it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's matter of honesty and discipline. So if you are lying or exaggerating at the beginning, that's going to, you know, make you look really bad later on, even if you don't get the job. So moving to the next slide. Double check everything, especially your contact and information, because when it comes to, you know, references phone number, or when it comes to, you know, if they require you to put your social, or if they required you, you know, any kind of dates, it is so easy when you are nervous or when you have, you know, anxiety doing filling out the application to mix things out. And that's why it is very important to go and review it, not just like go throughly, but actually go back and read every sentence like you are redoing it. You will be surprised that you might even misspell your name, or you might not even put the correct phone number. So, I try to, if I'm the hiring manager, I'm trying to contact you. If I don't have your right phone number, I'm not going to like try to go and look you up on LinkedIn or reach out to you via email, because, I try to call you and you might just lose an opportunity because, you were nervous and you did not review your information. Fill out every section in the application. And I see this almost all the time, that people, if that section is not relevant, or if it's, that it does not apply to them, they just leave it empty. So as an employer, I might just assume that you skipped it for a reason, because you don't want to like, mention that, or you just didn't see it. So if there's something that's not applicable to your application or not applicable to you, always put NA, which stands for non-applicable. So I can know that, okay, he did or she did saw this and it's just not applicable. That's why they avoided it. And that, applies when you only have one job. Like, for example, if you like your entire life just had one job and you just mentioned like that one job, I might assume that, oh, okay, did he just mention, or did she or he just mention that one job because they didn't have any other jobs, or because that's what they want to focus on, or, what's the deal? So that's why it is very important to put NA when actually it's not applicable, I'm sorry. Complete references. So I've noticed that a lot of people, go with the mindset that like whatever kind of, references they ask for, they're only going to use like, their friend or their old employer, or maybe some teacher or some classmate. It is really important to have different kind of references or contact, because, the hiring manager might ask you for a certain reference for a certain experience. And if you're only prepared with like a phone number for a friend, that friend might not be actually a good reference for you. You want to, reference to someone who took that class with you or worked with you. So always have like at least 5 or 6 references from different aspects. Like you can have a friend, a classmate, a coworker, an old manager. So, you can have a variety of references. And also it is very important to have a general application, like where you have all your information. So, if you are on the spot, you don't just, if you're nervous or you're on the spot, you can always refer to that general, like big resume or big application and just get the information out of it. Be specific. So if you are applying for a specific position, or if you are looking to work certain hours, or if you are, if you're interested in certain salary, it is very important for you to mention that and be specific, because if you leave everything open, you might just waste your time and go through the whole hiring process and find out that you are only getting paid maybe, minimum wage or 10 per hour, or you're getting underpaid. So it is very important, if you are looking to get paid a certain amount of money, you can, it's not negotiable. It is very important for you to mention that, so you can save your time and their time. And also being specific, or being like, specific rather than open-ended answer, let them, gives them a better idea of who you are and what to expect than just, being general. So moving on to the next slide. For, in the part of the application where it says reason for leaving, and I've seen it actually in the past a lot, don't criticize the past employer, because you always want to have, a positive input, and you want to have a positive attitude. So you're not here, to criticize your last employer, or, to like point out the things that you didn't like. You are here to point out your strength and your skills and why you are a good fit for this position. So you should focus on the positive outcome. You can always, for a reason for leaving, mention things like returning to school, left for a better opportunity, job terminated, and they might want to ask you why. So be prepared to have a valid and a good explanation. So signing and dating an application. I've seen this before actually, and it happens all the time. All the things that I'm telling you, I've seen them all the time, where someone spends so much time doing their resume, and it's more like when you're filing for a resume in person and they don't date it, or they don't sign it. And to be honest, the application is not considered official until it has your signature. And sometimes they require more than one signature. Make sure that you sign and date at every place it requires to. If I get an application and it's not signed, it's not official. I cannot really move on in the hiring process. Proofread your application. So if you have someone next to you, Or if you trust someone, just share that application with them before you submit it. Make them go through it, make them read it, because sometimes if you are looking, and it's a human nature, if you're looking at the same mistake over and over, you might not notice it, but someone else might just look at it and see it right away. So it is very important to proofread it, either by you or by an other person. And when you submit your application, make sure you hit submit. Don't overexcite it, and don't exit that tab, or whatever, when you're applying online, until it says application submitted, and most likely they will send you a confirmation. So don't close the application or exit that tab until it's completely submitted. And if you're submitting it in person, always make sure you have a copy of your resume as a reference for them too. So generally, this is like what submitting an application look like. And at this point, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. For questions. Any questions, guys?
questions?
I don't see any so far. Oh, one just popped up in the chat. Do you see the chat?
If you have 10 to 20 years of work history, how far back is it going to include this history of the resume? So, I mean, again, it depends on what the job that you're applying for. If you do have 20 years, yeah, I mean, I would, especially if it's related to the major that you're applying for, I would definitely let them know that I have 20 years experience. And you don't want to put that on your resume. You might just want to mention it briefly, but in the job application, when it comes to like what you did in your previous job, I would go into details, because this is actually when you can elaborate more. Maybe you might not be able to elaborate more in your resume and just mention the main things. So yeah, you can definitely elaborate more, especially if it's related and relative to the job you are applying for.
Right. I agree with that. Only if it's related. If you have 20 years of work history, and the work history is really not related to the particular job that you're applying for, I would not put it on the application nor the resume.
Correct.
So even 20 years ago, things have changed so much. The applications have changed. Everything has changed. So the work that you probably did 20 years ago and how you did that has probably changed now. So we want to try, unless the job description calls for 20 years of work history. I haven't seen many, but there may be a job description that calls for 20 years of work experience. Then if you have it, then put it. But most say 5 to 10 years. So you want to stay in that range. Any other questions? So students, this was just an overview, and this will get you started, and it's a great start to resume. But what we really would like for you to do is to log on to your student account and use our resume builder and request for a resume review session if you need to, or use our resume builder online in Career Hub and upload your resume. And once your resume is uploaded, a career service specialist will review your resume and approve it if it meets the standards. And if we feel that you need more work, we will contact you for a resume review session and get you up to par or help you with that particular resume if you need help. Are there any other questions?
If you check in the chat, we sent the link to career services, I believe, or support services. And that's where you go to fill out the application, or I'm sorry, to do the resume building.
Yes, sign on your student account, and there's their resume building, or and upload your resume, upload documents.
And I'm gonna go ahead and also leave my office phone number in case if y'all wanna, call in, and my work email. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if you need any help.
Sean?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
If there's no more questions.
Oh, well, it looks like we
open.
See, you just got to let people give just a moment to type, because it looks like we do have a question that just came in for y'all.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Do you want me to read it out loud?
You can.
If you're applying for a job, but your experience for that job is past 10 years, how do you include that on your resume, or should you include it in the cover letter?
I think that's the one we just did that.
So it's slightly different. Is it if your experience for the job is more like 10 years or more ago, should it be in the resume or the cover letter?
Well, if it's over 10 years, I would put it in the cover letter and explain my responsibilities, especially if it's progressive, if you've moved, if you've had different positions at that same company over the 20 years. But I would stick to the first 5 to 10 years on the resume. And maybe on the application, you can go into more detail and the cover letter.
Looks like that seems to be something that's hitting a couple of people. So thank you
Right.
so much. It's resonating all around. All right, well, thank you both so much. And, I'm going to stall for just a moment, just in case there's other people as they type their questions. But I know, Abdul, you put your contact information into the chat. Martha, what is the best way, if somebody has a question for you, what is the best way to reach out to you or otherwise get questions?
I'm going to put my contact information in there also.
Okay, and just for the people who happen to be catching this later on playback, would y'all mind just saying out loud what your email addresses are? And I think they'll be able to see your full names from your video sharing. But if you'll just say out loud what it is.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start. So basically my email is my first dot my last name, which is abdulrahim.hajali@hccs.edu. And my office phone number is 713-718-7786.
Okay, and I'm Marthaleen Cooper at marthaleen.cooper@hccs.edu. Again, I'm located in the Spring Branch. On the Spring Branch campus, you can give me a call, 713-718-5423. I'm usually here from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Just to let y'all know, we can actually help you all via emails, phone numbers, walk-ins, walk-in appointments. We can also do Zoom or WebEx meetings. And then also, if you want to, when you log into Career Hub, there's so many tools that you can use, like the resume builder, and also some online mock interviews. So if you want to start, practicing your interviewing skills, there's also just utilize, Career Hub. It's really, really helpful.
Terrific. Thank you all so much. I really think career services is one of those things that students feel like should exist, but don't know actually does. So yes, I encourage everyone, please reach out if you have any questions about applying or resumes or where to find jobs, this kind of thing. And in fact, next week we get to hear from career services again. Right?
Yes. Lisa Parkinson, our career service specialist here at Spring Branch, will discuss workload and anxiety. So you really want to tune into that, because we have such busy schedules of working, going to school, maybe taking care of family, and we want to try to balance all of that. So she's going to give you some tips on how to do that.
That's awesome. So we get multiple angles of what y'all do. And we're really looking forward to that. So that is March 1st. And I see one more question did just pop into the chat. Do you have a moment?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to read it out loud just so that people on playback can understand where the answer is coming from. It says, as a filmmaker and have industry experience, is there a way to put my IMDb credits on my resume? I know it depends on the industry I'm trying to enter, academia specifically.
Okay, those should go. I know a lot of students, I see this. You want to create a resume, and then you want to create an extra page for your credits with a list of your credits. That way, your filming credits. That's what you should do. And specifically when you apply for a job, add that also with, but you want to keep that on a separate page. You don't want to have it on the same page as your resume. So just keep it separate.
All right.
And Miss Martha, actually, it's a good question. Would that be different than coursework when it comes to the education section of the resume?
Well, with coursework and you want to put your projects on it, you're going to list 2 or 3 projects.
Mhm.
Sometimes people in the film industry have 5, 6, 7 projects that they want to list, and
Right.
they want the prospective employer to see those. And I think they should be separately on a separate page.
Mhm.
Terrific. Thank you so much. All right. So we'll go ahead and wrap this session up. Thank you again
you.
so much, Martha and Abdul, for being with us today.
You're welcome.
And just so everybody is reminded, this event will be available for playback via the HCC Student Life YouTube channel. If you registered for today's session, you will be getting a link once it's available. Also, all student attendees who stayed for the entire event will be placed in a raffle, and 3 $25 gift cards will be awarded to the winners. So please be on the lookout
Wonderful.
for an email. If you are a winner, you will be notified via your student email. So please, everybody, be checking your student emails.
Okay.
Also, students, if you're attending this event for Eagle Points, the Eagle Points will be awarded within 2 business days of this event. All right. Thank you
Sounds
so
good.
much, everyone.
Wonderful. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you all back again next Tuesday at 12 o'clock for our next session of life hacking. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.